Hi, my name is Kinsey Robinson.
And I'm Lindsey Smith, and you're watching your favorite history show,
Borders Blast. Your all-in source for the Cold War.
Today we're going to be talking about the Iran-Contra scandal. The Iran-Contra scandal began August 20th, 1985 and continued through March 4th, 1987. Mikhail Gorbachev also became the leader of the Soviet Union after Nikita Khrushchev's resignation in March of 1985, the year the scandal began.
Ronald Reagan was the president of the United States at the time. Robert McFarlane was the man who originally came up with the plan in the first place, and when he resigned, he was replaced by John Poindexter, who actually kept a journal detailing all of the events. The plan was then modified by Oliver North, a military aide of the U.S. National Secretary Council. Secretary of State George Shultz and the Secretary of Defense Caspar Weinberger strongly opposed the plan to get involved. Nicaraguan Contra rebels were fighting to overthrow their oppressive government called Sandinista in South America. In the Middle East, the pro-Iranian terrorist group Hezbollah took 7 American hostages to Lebanon. The Israeli government officials acted as a middleman, facilitating the entire deal.
The Iran-Contra scandal was a series of lucrative exchanges between American, Iranian, and Israeli government officials, including the involvement of the Nicaraguan Contra rebels.
Oh, and for our what section of our Borders Blast today, we're going to go to our field reporter, Bryce Williams.
Thanks, Kinsey and Lindsey. Coming to you live now here from the golf cart, it seems the scandal began when American officials convinced the Israeli government to sell anti-tank missiles to the Iranian moderates, then proceeded to illegally funnel the money with their help to the Contra rebels in Nicaragua. America replaced the weapons Israel lost in the deal, which was intended to secure good relations between the three countries and the Contra rebels, who were intending to instill a pro-American government in Nicaragua. Back to you, Kinsey and Lindsey.
How could Ronald Reagan let the United States get involved in such a lucrative situation? There were actually 3 separate motives for getting involved. One of these such motives was the hostage situation. Hezbollah is a pro-Iranian terrorist group, and they took 7 American hostages to Lebanon. The second such motive was the fact that Nicaragua was heavily influenced by communist practices. So as a part of containment, Reagan wanted to do his best to prevent the takeover of communism without starting a war. The United States never gets involved with foreign affairs without the promise of economic benefit, so this is their third reason. Involvement would have had ensured the United States some kind of open trade with Nicaragua for years to come.
Now going to our most enthusiastic reporter in the field, Saeed.
This time, we're gonna get funky.
Okay. Reactions. In November of 1986, when the story was first picked up by the media, it was little more than speculation. However, Reagan's address to the nation in summer of 1987 confirmed the public suspicion. In his address, Reagan claimed to know nothing about the diversion of arms to the Contras, placing the blame for the scandal on Oliver North and John Poindexter, the 2 people who played key roles in the plan's development. It wasn't approved by the United States Congress. The Lebanese magazine Ash-Shira exposed the weapon for hostage deal, and Congress said that the president bore ultimate responsibility. Back to you, Kinsey, Lindsey.
To wrap it up, the Iran-Contra affair began as an internal U.S. confrontation between Ronald Reagan and the domestic Congress. The public didn't know much about the scandal at the time. However, in 1984, the Boland Amendment passed, which said that the CIA and the Department of Defense could not give militaristic aid, especially in Nicaragua. Reagan had hopes that if he were to supply Iran with United States military supplies and weapons, then the relations with Iran may be strengthened, and in turn would lead to improved relations between Lebanon and a stronger U.S. position in the Middle East. Now, Reagan was also hoping that if he were to place the U.S. in a good relationship with Iran, he may be able to release the 7 American hostages who were being held captive by Iranian terrorists called Hezbollah. The United States took millions of dollars from the weapons sale and routed them and guns to the Contra guerrillas in Nicaragua.
Part of the deal is that in 1985, the U.S. would send 508 American-made Tau anti-tank missiles from Israel to Iran for the exchange of a hostage. After that transfer was successful, Israelis offered to ship about 500 surface-to-air missiles to Iran in exchange for the remaining hostages. Even though those deals were made, Hezbollah elected to kidnap more hostages after they were being released, so any further negotiations with Iran were useless.
And that concludes this week's episode of Board Us Blast on the Iran-Contra scandal.
If you don't come back next week, you're soft.